Okay, I call this meeting of the County Board, Champaign County Board to order. It is Thursday, February 19th, 2009, and the time is 7:01. Roll call, please.
Bensel. Betts. Carter. Cowart. Dennitz.
Here.
Gladney.
Present.
Hunt.
Here.
James.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Knott.
Here.
Kurtz.
Here.
Langenheim. McGinty.
Here.
Mosher.
Here.
Nudo.
Here.
O'Connor.
Here.
Richards. Rosales.
Here.
Sapp.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Smucker.
Here.
Wysocki.
Here.
Ammons.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Beckett.
Here.
Weibel.
Here, we have a quorum. In lieu of a prayer tonight, I'd like to take I think we should take a moment of silence. There was a member of the military who died over in Afghanistan recently, actually from Oakland. It also should give us a chance to think about the fact that we still have soldiers over there in the Middle East fighting for us and also still dying. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on March 19th, 2009, 7 p.m. in the Lyle Shields Meeting Room, Perkins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Moved by Mr. Betts, second by Ms. Wysocki. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seek approval of the minutes of December 18, 2008 corrected, and the minutes of January 28, 2009.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. James, second by Mr. J. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seek approve the agenda and just the agenda, I guess, no addendum today. Moved by Ms. Cowart, second by Ms. Wysocki. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Please note that Mr. Langenheim has arrived. The date and time of our next regular meeting is Thursday, March 19th, 2009 at 7 p.m. Public participation. Ms. Nora Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Nora Stewart. I am the president of AFSCME Local 900, who represents the employees of Champaign County. On behalf of the members of AFSCME Local 900, I would like to thank the elected and appointed officials and the department heads for going above and beyond, excuse me, to show their appreciation to the people that work under them for making major cuts to their FY 2009 budgets. We are going to, along with you, find ways to save the county money so that we as employees don't have to worry about in the future about the possibilities of either being asked to take furloughs or risk being laid off. We ask that you, the county board, as representatives of the citizens of Champaign County, start doing your homework by looking at each department's budget, the revenues and expenditures, to see where there is unnecessary spending that can save the county money. Might I suggest that you, as a board, or as individual board members, take a tour of each of the departments and do your own cost-saving evaluations. Thank you.
Mr. John Farney.
I'd like to echo Ms. Stewart's comments, and I'd also like to call out and thank Deb Busey and Brenda McGinty for their hard work on the budget amendments to ensure that it looks like we won't have to have layoffs or furloughs for the bargaining unit employees here at Champaign County. I'd also like to thank the department heads and elected officials who also worked so hard to and were active participants in the process to make sure that this would happen with as minimal of an impact on the people that are working for $10 or $12 an hour. And a furlough day could mean the difference between groceries or prescription drugs for someone. So it's very important that the county board continue to look for efficiencies and stick to the ideals that any budget amendment that comes before this board for the rest of this fiscal year, if it's not revenue neutral or you're making money, it's not happening. And one of the things that I heard from a lot of the folks that I talked with while we were going through this process was there was not a lot of trust of the county board to do what they say they're going to do. And I challenge you to stick with it and stick to it and not let budget issues get out of control here for the next couple of months. And of course, for fiscal year 2010, which looks to be just as tough as this year is. I think that there's a lot of good ideas out there for continuing efficiencies. Yesterday's story, Mr. Beckett's idea, I think is tremendous. That's a great first start. Looking for any way that we can save the county money, and it's an ongoing, continuing process of saving money is great. In addition to these one-time cuts and things, anything that can go on for years is wonderful. Every office, like Nora said, can be looked at. There's things that can be done more efficient, maybe pooling resources in some cases, and employees here have ideas, and we hope that you're open to our ideas, and we will be suggesting them and continuing to suggest them as they come along. Energy efficiencies here in this building alone, there's plenty of them, and we hope that the ideas that people come up with will be looked into and hopefully followed through. So again, I'd like to thank everyone that has worked so hard on this. Your employees truly do appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you in the future to help continue this process.
Mr. Belden Fields.
Yes, I'd briefly like to address two things. The first one is the Citizens Advisory Committee on Jury Selection. I was very pleased to see this is coming up tonight. I looked at a list of the people who have agreed to serve on that, and it just looks like an excellent list of citizens who expressed willingness to do what I think is a very needed job. I think there's a real problem there, and it has to be examined by a broad committee of a broad section of our citizens, and that's what I hope you're going to be adopting tonight. The second thing is on the proposal to abolish the Justice and Social Services Committee and the Transportation Committee. I had written a note, which I hope that all of you got. I asked it to be distributed to all board members, objecting to that. I think it's a very bad policy. I think particularly for people who had made the argument that the board itself is too big and it should be reduced in numbers. Now, there might have been a cost saving attached to that, but one of the arguments that I heard was that that smaller group of people would be able to focus better on things than a large group of people. Well, if that's the argument, then it seemed to me that you would want to have these committees in place to focus on serious issues and to give their views on the issues before it goes to the larger committee. The other thing I feel is to be regretted about it is the two committees that were selected both have African American chairs, and I don't think this sends a very good signal to the community at large to be selecting those two committees to be abolishing. So I hope you will not do that. Thank you.
Mr. Brian Doliner.
Good evening. My name is Brian Dolliner, and I also wanted to echo Professor Fields in my pleasure in seeing the advisory committee to look into the jury disparities finally being followed up on and hopefully finalized here tonight. But at the same time, I'm concerned to hear that there's a possibility the Justice Committee could be entirely cut. This is a very important board for oversight of what have been particular problems at the jail facility here in Champaign County. Just to remind folks, I'm sure everybody in the room knows the problems at the jail, but the repeated suicides in 2004, the ongoing deaths, there's been 3 suicides in 2004 and 3 other deaths in the county jail since. These are deaths that are not just unfortunate for the families, but they've also resulted in lawsuits, which are very expensive, not just for the settlements, but for the legal aid that it costs the county to provide for. So what seemed like short-term cost benefits, I think could inevitably end up in a very damaging lawsuit and a very costly lawsuit without this final step of oversight here at the Justice Committee. Currently, I'm aware of one lawsuit that is still on the books and currently in the courts now for the death of Janet Hahn, who was a diabetes case over in the jail, and it's alleged she didn't get proper treatment. It's important that the Justice Committee be there for a final oversight to make sure that things are being done correctly in the county jail. Please keep the Justice Committee. Thank you.
Mr. Brett Kepley.
Good evening. I am Brett Kepley. I'm the attorney for the Champaign Southwest Mass Transit District, and I speak to you this evening regarding the proposed resolution on the Personnel and Appointment Committee for the appointment of Edward Vaughn, or reappointment of Edward Vaughn on the Board of Trustees of the Champaign Southwest Mass Transit District. I just wanted to speak to you briefly to inform you as to what the status of that district board is, to alleviate any concerns that anyone has regarding action or inaction of that district regarding transportation. The status of that transportation district is that it is involved in litigation with the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District. The Champaign Southwest Mass Transit District seeks to get a court ruling which avoids an annexation action by the CUMTD of territory which is in the Southwest MTD. At the same time, the Champaign-Urbana MTD is asking the court to rule that the Champaign Southwest MTD was illegally formed and is therefore a nullity as an entity. The Ted Vaughn has obviously been one of the first trustees appointed. He has been the acting president or chairman of the board, and he's done a very fine job of organizing the Board of Trustees. It meets regularly every month. It provides agendas, and it records its minutes and does all of the housekeeping business required of a mass transit district under the Mass Transit District Act. The board, by unanimous agreement after much discussion, has decided to defer any active planning of transportation issues until the litigation with CUMTD is concluded. Obviously, if they have another district that is imposing upon their territory, that would have great ramifications as to what they should plan for regarding transportation. Furthermore, CUMTD, along with the City of Champaign, which is also involved in the litigation, is seeking, in effect, to declare that the Southwest MTD is illegally formed, and therefore the board felt it would be very imprudent to commence planning activities for transportation services and the concomitant taxing of the landowners thereof until that issue is resolved. The litigation is slated to go to trial in May, in the middle of May of this year, and the board has resolved that it will take up planning activities for transportation when the litigation is final and non-appealable, and presuming that the district has not been nullified by the court. And of course, there's the issue, not just simply is it going to be resolved in May, there would likely be, because the issues are so momentous between CUMTD and Southwest MTD, there's the inevitable appeal by a party. So it may be some time before any active transportation planning is undertaken by the Champaign Southwest MTD board. But I can say for a fact, having worked closely with the board and having worked closely with Edward Vaughn, that he has certainly done a very capable, exemplary job of leading the board in conducting all of the required activities and in helping the board make its decisions with regard to transportation planning. Thank you.
Please note that Mr. Richards has arrived. The next speaker is Edward Vaughn.
Good evening. I'm Edward Vaughn. I spoke to your, I believe it was Finance and Policy Committee about 2 weeks ago and answered questions. I believe Mr. Kepley really did a better job of answering the reasons that I gave for the board not addressing transportation planning. I don't have anything else to add to Mr. Kepley's words other than that the board chose to accept his advice, I think wisely, and we do not oppose mass transit. I know of no member of that board, including me, who opposes mass transit. I've heard it said that I'm against mass transit. Absolutely incorrect. Any questions?
We don't have questions at this time.
Fine, Dan.
Thank you. Ms. Eleanor Morrow.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Morrow, and I am
Could you speak into the microphone?
Okay.
There we go.
What? Okay. I'm Eleanor Morrow, and I am reading something for Angela Lusk because she can be here. I also am a 30-year employee here at the county. Angela Lusk lives at 1202 North Lincoln, Urbana, and she wrote this. If the employees of the county appreciate the fact that the department heads have made sacrifices in their budget so that we don't have to take furlough days, and no one is getting laid off at this time. We are, however, still a little apprehensive that this is only a Band-Aid. I also want to thank the many employees who have worked hard to come up with money-saving ideas and concepts for their offices. The only problem with this is that a lot of us don't feel as if we are being heard. We understand that these are only suggestions, but a little feedback would be helpful to know if some of our ideas are possible, etc. I wonder who is it that we should be emailing or calling or suggesting things to that would actually give us feedback. I can assure the county board and the citizens of the county that we, the employees, will still be putting in a full day of work for a fair day's wage. But I can't speak for the many elected and appointed officials who still don't seem to think they are held to the same standards. Before you re-elect or appoint people, make sure you do the research and talk to the employees. We will be honest with you about the people you are electing or appointing. I would really love to see some type of accountability to the county from the elected officials, like, for instance, Why can't we ask the appointed and elected officials in each office every other month to go to the county board meeting and make an oral report to the county board and the public regarding the state of their office and budget? The things I think we would like to know is, how many employees are in your office at any particular time? How many have been let go or have quit? What is your office's goals for the next 2 months, and what have you done to put in place to keep them accomplished? What kind of budgets do you have left, etc.? I think that if we hold these folks accountable and we have them report to the public and the board, they are going to be less likely to sit back and collect a paycheck without putting as much effort. Just so you know, not all of the elected officials and appointed officials are lazy or have bad work habits, and these people, I am sure, won't mind being held accountable. It will be the people who don't want to be held accountable that are the problem. Thank you very much for your time. Please feel free to email me any questions or answers that you may have. Angela Lusk.
Thank you. Is there further public participation? Moving on to announcements and communications. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have made a proposal to revise county board rules reflecting changes concerning 2 committees. They were mentioned in public participation tonight. They were inadvertently, I believe, misrepresented. We would be, if the rule change was adopted, we would be folding Justice Committee's responsibilities into finance and in policy. If adopted, Facilities Committee would be folded into Highway and Transportation. There would be 4 committees instead of 6. If the proposal was adopted as currently written, I would be eliminating my chairmanship. I hope that the public will access the county board website. This will be on the policy committee for the policy meeting in March, and the proposal will be there. I assume that's the way they may be able to access it. As always, I'm happy to talk to people about it. I have had people contact me. The public speakers tonight did not. I'm sure that their inadvertent references to the proposals that were inaccurate would have been corrected.
Mr. Smucker.
I want to let county board members and members of the public know that I'm in the process of organizing a speaker series of department heads to speak and administrators to speak at every month at the Urbana City Council chambers, and to be filmed and then put on Urbana Public Television. And they're going to talk about their departments, what they do, and this is a way just to help the public understand a little bit more about what the county does. The first talk is going to be Deb Busey next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, Urbana City Council chambers, and then if you miss it there, you can catch it on television hopefully later in the month or in March. March 25th is going to be John Keller from the Emergency Management Agency. Will be speaking. What's that? Bill. I'm sorry. Bill Keller from the Emergency Management Agency will be speaking same time. I think it's a Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And then in I believe it's the last Wednesday of April will be John Hall. It's talking about planning and zoning, and hopefully talking about a windmill ordinance that's under discussion at that time. So those are the 3 that are planned, and I expect I'll do more in the summer. So I just want to let people know about that. Please attend if you can, and if you can't, catch it on television.
Mr. Kurtz.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Brad Euchen. Last week, he organized at the Farm Bureau a bus tour to McLean County for us to personally step up to a wind turbine. Over 40 of us from many different areas of the county and city, Urbana, Champaign, and the county were in attendance, over 40 of us. And Brad gave us an excellent tour of the wind farm in McLean County, as well as up close and very personal turbine tour, as well as excellent information from farmers who own turbines in McLean County on their farms, as well as zoning directors and other excellent information concerning wind farms that will help us in our compiling our ordinance here. So I wanted to thank Brad personally for that great bus tour.
Ms. Anderson.
Champaign County Soil and Water Conservation District had their annual meeting a few weeks ago. I think Mr. O'Connor and I were two members there from the board this time. An interesting presentation on history of agriculture in this community, but just wanted to note that, you know, they're having budgetary problems too, and with a very small staff, they're doing some excellent services, and a lot of the work that they're doing is in their program, and I would be happy to share this with any board member if they would like to see it.
Further announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Nursing Home Board of Directors Annual Report. Who's going to start this off? Chuck, go ahead. Speaking over the microphone.
Good evening. As chair of the Champaign County Nursing Home Board, I'm here to give the quarterly report of the Nursing Home Board to the Champaign County Board. This happens to coincide with the annual report timing, even though the board has not been in place for quite a year. We're fortunate to have Mr. Mike Scavato of MPA with us this evening to give us an update on the nursing home administration's work, so I will focus on the non-financial aspects of this quarterly report. In the past months, since my last quarterly report to the Champaign County Board, the Nursing Home Board has continued to monitor the progress of the nursing home. Our board is happy to report that further progress has been made. The census has improved. Revenue has improved along with this increase in census. Without this financial improvement, no sustainable progress would be possible. With the improved finances, we can continue to work on other aspects of the nursing home's functions. With the able assistance of members of the Nursing Home Board, Parkland College of Nursing, and the Grand Victoria Fund, a scholarship program has been set up to allow current employees of the nursing home to apply for financial aid that would allow them to attend Parkland College and take courses that would enable them to advance their careers while continuing to work at the nursing home. Approximately 30 employees of the nursing home attended the first session introducing this concept, and others have indicated an interest in applying for this financial help. We on the board feel that improving the education and skills of our current employees who have a desire to continue working at the nursing home is an excellent way to reduce our dependence upon agency nursing help. With the support of the Nursing Home Board, the Nursing Home Administration is reviewing many aspects of its operations, and efforts are being made to upgrade the care at all levels. While we are proud of the care currently given by Champaign County nursing home employees, there is always room for improvement at all levels. The changes in census and the always changing patient or resident mixtures in terms of needs requires the nursing home to look at the needs of these residents and patients to see whether they have the best skill sets in-house to meet those needs. The funding sources of our revenue are always interested in how their monies are being spent. A majority of those funds are governmental. As is true of other governmentally funded programs, an ever-increasing level of scrutiny is being applied. A recent review was published, and the Champaign County Nursing Home was given a 3-star rating out of a possible 5. This, in fact, is a very good rating, but the nursing home has hopes of earning higher marks in the areas that were not rated as highly as it would have preferred. Other periodic reviews by state government will undoubtedly find areas in which they feel our nursing home needs to focus more attention. The nursing home looks forward to these outside reviewers for the insight that they can provide. These inspections, however, carry significant risk for an organization, as not passing them may be followed by financial penalties that can disrupt all other financial planning. This comes back full circle to our need to remain financially successful by improving and maintaining the skills of our employees, whether they are supervisors or entry-level employees. Methods of improving preparedness being considered include holding mock inspections and other such methodologies. At the last Nursing Home Board meeting on February 12, 2009, several ideas regarding improving the methods of giving feedback to employees were discussed, especially for the excellence in patient care. The board and administration recognize the value of positive reinforcement of the type of care most conducive to ensuring the best possible outcomes for the residents of the nursing home. Administration is planning to restart regular management and union meetings and will start to include the nursing home board members, on the mailing list of regular employee recognition events. The Nursing Home Board is on record of favoring an atmosphere of cooperation between employees and administration as a method of improving morale and better resident care. Individual members of the Nursing Home Board have been contributing in various ways to improve things for the residents and employees. Mr. Nudo has been visiting with employees while they work, thereby gaining insight and understanding about their challenges and opportunities. Ms. O'Shaughnessy has started a reading group for residents that, after only 2 meetings, has attracted good interest on the part of the residents. Mr. Tchaikovsky is a careful reviewer of financial matters and continually helps us on those issues. Mr. Hirschbrenner provides the wisdom of his experience with nursing home management, and Mr. Holly has provided additional help for education of current and future employees via Parkland College. Ms. Anderson continues to help us with her long nursing experience and her wisdom. In summary, the Nursing Home Board feels that progress is being made and that much remains to be done. The need for constant improvement in the nursing home is evident, and steps are being taken to address the identified areas in need of improvement. We, the members of the Nursing Home Board, look forward to helping MPA as it continues to make the necessary changes to meet the challenges of operating a modern nursing home. Thank you.
Mr. Scavato?
Thanks very much. What I'd like to do is run through the fiscal position as the end of 08. I'm going to cheat a little bit and go into 09 as well, because the news is pretty good. And what I hope you'll find is that there's been quite a bit of progress made at the nursing home. I think there has been. We're proud of it. And it reflects a team effort all across the organization. It's not one person, it's not one department. Everybody's pitching in here. So I hope I can do this. All right. Okay. There will not be a quiz at the end of the presentation, but to keep everybody's head in the game, we are talking about three basic types of groups here, and you'll see these laced throughout the presentation. Medicare A is basically our rehab service with a prior hospital stay required for admission. Medicare B, therapy services, which are provided to the general resident population. Everybody who's not a Medicare A individual is eligible. Medicaid, the public assistance program, remains our largest payer segment at the nursing home. And that's, as you see the statistic, you'll see that is extremely straight, level, almost no change in that. Okay, can you see my, okay, right here, can you see my cursor? All right. This is about when the turnaround started at the nursing home in June, and the census got down to a low of 148. If you see I lost my cursor. There we go. All the way from January to June, you had pretty good census. You really dropped off, and it's taken us a while to build back up, but you can start to see steady progress here, and particularly into 09, which would be the period here. So a lot of the effort from June on forward has been to get our census back. Now we're shooting for a target of 208. We're not there yet. Today we're at 198. We have been as high as 206. I want to say, Andrew, am I right? 206. We have not hit 208. We're looking forward to the day. Life at 190 is a lot better than life at 148. And this has been a long, hard climb, and it's the major factor in moving us forward. So for the balance of the year, you can see the stats out there. The major one would be the overall occupancy of 70%. And if you're hitting 70%, you're in trouble. It's a brand new facility. You have high costs. You have a high break-even point. 70% is not good. We've got to get it up there, which is why we need to be hitting 208, certainly over 190. Breaking down the year, you can see some of the changes taking place here. On the far left in the yellow, December to November, you can see down in this area, 169.4. That's the overall average for 2008. You take July through November, we brought that up a little bit, and you can see for the last several months, September to November, we've started to show some real promise. We were over 190 in December, and my recollection is that we were at 194 in January of 09. It's no surprise that Medicaid continues to dominate the payer mix. It's been running about 100, no significant change there. The big change is that Medicare has come up, and it's not unusual for us to have 35 to 40 in the rehab service. That's a real positive development for us. Dementia services are basically full, and they've. If there's one thing that would be a concern to me is that we would eventually need another dementia unit. Private pay has been developing slowly, but it's coming. You can see the trend here in overall revenue from patient services. So the solid red line is a linear trend. This was our low point back in June, and you can see we've started to make some real progress. This is where you had the sanctions for Medicare in this area. We've started to make some real progress the last several months. Medicaid, no surprise here, because the census has been essentially flat at about 100. Big change in Medicare. This is a huge impact for the nursing home. And the fact that we've been able to see continued progress, it's not only the coding skills of the people that we have in the program now, it's the volume, and we've been very fortunate with the people we have working with the hospitals to get patients into our rehab service. Medicare B holds great promise. Now, I'm on record as saying that the two peaks that you see over here probably represented a level of Part B revenues that were unsustainable, and they've fallen off, but they started to come back, and they're back a little bit this month. There were 44,000, and if we could get between 40 and 50,000 on a regular basis, that looks to me like it's more of a sustainable and justifiable at a census level of about 200. This is good, though, the fact that we've got room to grow with B. Private pay, you can see a slight increase in the trend. We're still looking at these revenue issues. You have a high break-even point, so you've got to have volume. You have to have the right kind of volume. Today is a very propitious day, if I might take a brief diversion. Today was the first meeting between the county nursing homes and state HFS as your current intergovernmental transfer program, what we call the IGT, gets restructured. It's no secret that I think your Medicaid reimbursement is low. You have a major commitment to Medicaid, and you deserve to get as much reimbursement as you can. It looks like we're going to catch a break, and we may be able to see some more Medicaid revenues coming our way, which would be very, very welcome. The new federal stimulus includes an increase in the federal match, which is at FMAP, FMAP, the federal matching assistance for the Medicaid program. Illinois is at 50%. That's the lowest you can have. What we heard today was that Illinois might get up to 60%. I had originally heard 5 or 6, but today we heard 60. Anything more than 50 is a plus, and that will be accruing only to your benefit. The flip side of this is if we get nothing out of this, your expenses continue to advance with inflation and your revenues stay flat. And that's not a good recipe for success. The Medicare per diem has changed dramatically. It's gone from the low 300s to now consistently over 400, and clearly indicates that the changes that we made with the contract to Alliance Rehab have been successful. The risk attendant to this is that Medicare Advantage plans are appearing in your market. These are the senior HMOs where oftentimes they're looking for rates that are lower than what traditional Medicare A pays. So if we're, just look at this average, if we're expecting $400 a day from traditional Medicare A and a Medicare Advantage plan comes in, they may say, well, will you take $300? And then it's a discount game, and it's the old adage, the guy thought he could make it up on volume when he lost money on every sale, and it just doesn't work. And that is the risk that's in the environment for Medicare Advantage. We know that there are property tax limits kicking in, and if we're ever to do more with the dementia service and open that up to more private pay individuals, we're probably looking at increased capacity, and I think that this community could probably use that. Those are revenue issues, some of which are down the road, some of which we can't really call right now, like what's going to happen on the IGT. I think it's going to be positive for us. It remains to be seen. Total expenses, you can see, have changed dramatically. They have dropped, but as census has come back, we are picking up more in direct care staff and in variable costs. And our biggest variable costs are going to be food and medical supplies. They will vary directly with the census. We have put into effect more stringent expense controls, and they've been working well. We just talked about staffing. Still our biggest cost, salary and benefits, at 52% of total expenses. There's nothing unusual about that. That's a skilled facility in Illinois. That's a skilled facility in almost any state, having that level of commitment to salaries and benefits. We have a tough nursing market in this community. We still have far too much reliance on agency staffing. The premium for that is roughly $250,000. And now don't look at that and say it's $1.2 million, because if we didn't have agency, we'd still have to fill that shift and we'd have to pay them. And we look at the difference between what we would pay and the agency cost as the premium, roughly $250,000. When you look at the final figures for 2008, you're going to see your independent auditor coming in with numbers that look like this. These, by the way, have been to your county auditor, and we have been reviewing those figures with them. The loss is going to come in, the operating loss is going to come in at about $475,000, which is quite a bit lower than it was in the previous year. Now, what we're doing here is putting this on a full accrual basis, and as we go forward this fiscal year, your accounting for the nursing home is going to be on a full accrual basis. We'll get into that in a little bit. You can see down here we're putting on the books a liability to Carl Clinic. We have to expense your depreciation for the year. That's a standard entry. Where'd my cursor go? There we are. Another big item down here is the increase in the amounts that you owe your employees for time that they've earned. Again, that's a standard entry. It's a big number. So when we're all said and done, we're off by about $20,000 on our first pass to get our books reconciled with your auditor. So all told, not a bad job for something that's still in progress. But again, the number to focus on is up here. That is significantly lower than where you were last year. Last 3 months, you can see the results for October and November. We had positive net income of $35,000 and $45,000 in November. Now, December's a little bit different. It's the first year of the fiscal year, and it's on a full accrual basis. This is important going forward. Your depreciation is in the expenses for December. It was not in October and November. Your county overhead is in the expenses for November. It was not in October and November. So we've got fully loaded expenses in December, including your FICA and your IMRF. And we've also averaged out your property tax. So we had a profit of about $83,000, which is, I think, a very big step in the right direction. Now, the census in December was about 190, 191. And this is a pretty good performance. And people say, well, is it a flash in the pan? Maybe it is. We like to think otherwise. We like to keep going. We had a little bit better census in January, I think 194, and the net income was 100,000. And that's we're still working with those figures. But we do think we beat December's performance in January. So when we put this all together, what does it mean going forward? What we're going to try to do is cover our obligations with expenses fully covered every month. The idea being to pay back the tax anticipation warrants, pay the FICA and IMRF as we go, and take care of the IGT overpayment, which will be a subject of negotiation on restructuring the intergovernmental transfer. Cash flow position is still very thin, but we've broken through the surface, and I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We need to stabilize the basic cash position, and that's going to be our big goal in 2009. Maintain our census. The closer we can get to our goal of 208, the better things will be. There's no surprise to anybody. We'll continue to emphasize rehab services. We're going to try to get the best deal we can for all county homes out of the intergovernmental transfer. And as Dr. Lansford was talking about, training and developing our staff, particularly in areas of coding, is going to be the sine qua non in the future, because a new era of accountability is going to require new skills. We need to get them at the nursing home. We do provide fine customer service. We can be better. And once we get to that level, we can be better again. And that's just the way it goes, particularly in a regulatory environment. There's never a break, and we can't afford to rest on our laurels. So we want to maintain our positive cash flow from operations, pay our fully loaded expenses, reduce outstanding accounts payable. We'll talk about that in a minute. Get some cash reserves going, because right now you don't have anything set aside for a contingency, and that's a problem. And even though this is last, it's not least. Employee development and training it's a big factor. So if we were to take a model cash flow for 09, we can keep our census around 200. We're looking at a net income of $75,000 every month. We're covering our depreciation, but we have property taxes already committed to paying back the tax anticipation warrant, so we have to take them out. So when you do the math, it turns out roughly $650,000 a year in cash flow that we can get out of this operation. What do we do with that? Don't spend it all in one place, because we don't have enough to spend. So if you take a look at your outstanding bills, it's about $750,000 in the 0 to 30-day category. We can probably take care of that out of the operation on a monthly basis. But if you go down and do the math on the other three levels, they'll add up to $665,000, which is 1 times your cash flow. So it's going to take us, so if in a perfect world, we should be able to get through payables in 1 year. That's not going to happen. Something's going to come up. We're going to have another month where we have 3 payrolls. We're going to have somebody delay a payment, whether it's Medicare or Medicaid. There will be something that comes up, and we'll have to keep juggling it. But the point I'm trying to make is that the cash flow is there to get us to a better day. So census, timing, and keeping the organization in balance, and I think we'll do okay in 09. I think we came through 08 making a lot of improvement. I'd like to think that we can keep going in 09. Chuck.
Thank you, Mike. We're open for questions at this point. Yes.
So we keep seeing the 208 as the sort of the magic number from a census standpoint. But what is the capacity of the home, and why can't we go above 208? I assume we can go above 208. 208 is just a target.
Capacity is 243, and we picked 208 because I thought it would be a tough number to hit. I think that at 243, I'd love to say you could fill that facility, but I don't know that you can. We're having a tough time getting to 208.
So a couple of the factors, I'm sorry, could I follow up? Just a couple of the factors for not being able to reach higher are what? From a census standpoint, what's causing the challenge to get to 208?
Well, it could be some. We're not without competition in the area, and all of the homes are looking to the hospitals for admissions on the Medicare program. Every home competes on the same basis. We've been very, very fortunate in competing very well in that area. We have taken significant market share away from some of the other facilities. That's not going to be without a reaction. And the other thing is, we may have too much capacity. So 208 looked like it was a stretch target for us. The history of this is that we got to, I want to say 175, we were doing okay, but we couldn't, we had a hard time breaking through 180. And once we broke through 180, we could get up to 188 or 189. We had a heck of a time breaking through 190. and so forth. We've been knocking on the door for 208, but we haven't hit it yet. So if we hit 208, I'm going to be happy. But we're not going to stop there. If there's more, we'll take it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Langenheim?
I notice we have a very large proportion of Medicaid patients.
Yes.
That was not the case a few years back, and there was concern about not receiving sufficient reimbursement to cover the costs of supporting those Medicaid patients. Has that problem been resolved?
No. No.
So we're losing money on the Medicaid.
You're doing better now under the intergovernmental transfer program, but you're never going to get rich just because of the nature of Medicaid. We're doing the intergovernmental transfer is a good deal for the county facilities, but you've always my historical perspective is that you've always had a pretty big commitment to Medicaid, and it's traditionally the role of county homes. Medicaid typically will pay 30 cents on the dollar. IGT helps you quite a bit more than that.
So our accessioning of Medicaid patients is a matter of policy, or has it been thrust upon us?
Well, I would say it's a matter of policy.
I would hope it is.
Yeah, it is a matter of policy. We have never turned one away.
As a public institution, we have a responsibility there.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a cultural thing that's not going to change about the nursing home. I hope it doesn't. And if we turn down a residence because we can't care for that resident, and there has been a few times where we couldn't take care of the residents' needs, and I think it's the right thing to do. Send them to a facility where they really can be taken care of.
I think, Mr. Langenheim, that the message that I take from this regarding Medicaid is that the improvement has been made not at the expense of the Medicaid patients. The Medicaid patients in terms of percentage is almost the same, and the census has gone up. So what we've done, or what MPA and the nursing home has done, is turned a profit on the Medicare side of things and private pay side. So that's the best of both worlds as far as I can see, is you can still serve the needs of the county and those who aren't able to pay on their own, and yet make a profit and hopefully in the future be able to pay back all of the past debts and develop a reserve to the point that you can weather storms that may come, because they will come. So I'm very encouraged. I tend to be an optimist. I'm very encouraged by the fact that this has been done, but without lowering the percentage of Medicaid patients, because you do lose on every Medicaid patient. That's just accepted by the hospitals, by the clinics, by everyone. It's a losing proposition financially, but there's an obligation to serve those people, and so we're trying to figure out ways how to move forward, be profitable, and yet serve those in need.
Mr. Kurtz?
Thank you. Last month I talked with Mr. Buffenbarger concerning inquiries about private rooms. Do you know of any inquiries about private rooms, and if we've converted any of the double residences and occupied any private rooms at this time?
No, I don't. So we'd have to get back to you on that. And maybe Yender would want to respond to that now.
Because there was inquiry of whether we could convert those doubles into private room, they were willing to pay for it.
I mean, the short answer is yeah, you could, but then business-wise, are we in a position to do that? Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, we haven't had any inquiries about converting a semi-private room into a private and allowing that person to pay for both beds. They haven't come. Something we would entertain, of course, but hasn't come.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we wanted to lower the cost. If they were willing to pay for a double room to make it a private room, I didn't see any reason why we couldn't accommodate that.
I think you got another vote up here. So I think,
Okay. Ms. Amons?
I appreciate the presentation. I wanted to ask, in the fiscal presentation, did the bottom line that we've lost less money than the previous few months since June, did that include the tax anticipation warrant money that was received?
Only in December. Yeah. It includes property taxes, the tax anticipation warrants. Tax anticipation warrants were used to pay off obligations of '08, the FICA and IMRF.
But that's
So that money's gone. We got to pay it back out of '09, right?
And then the IGT, you mentioned that we've not gotten anything from the state as to exactly which direction the IGT is going to go. Is it possible that we will have to do a repayment on that, or do you think the stimulus will come in time?
No, that is just plan on it.
To do the repayment?
You're going to pay it back. Now, the question is, how much is the pain going to be?
And how?
And and over how long a time? Now, the good news is misery loves company. We got plenty of company out there with other county homes in the same boat. The state gains nothing by saying to you, Champaign County, we want it back in 3 weeks. They gain nothing by doing that. And the feds are apparently going to give them some leeway on that too. So, I mean, the feds have not complained about this. And the state says it's still out there, it's coming back. So that's on the table as to how the finances go. It's a complex mix, if I could just go on a little bit more, because the plus for you with the IGT is prompt payment. You get your money in between 30 and 60 days. Other nursing homes are up to like 180 days out there. So cash flow-wise, that's huge. So we got to be careful about when we push and when we pull. So that's out there. I think your obligation is roughly $550,000. It's out of here. It's going back. We just don't know when. We don't know and how many payments. You're not going to keep that money.
I didn't see, and I knew that we had talked about this before, that this number is sizable. I didn't see where that number would fit into the bottom line that you presented.
Oh, the reason you didn't see that is because it was on the chart, the schedule that we sent over to the county auditor, and roughly $552,000. And we were advised by the county auditor to run that entry through retained earnings because it happened. It's not just last year; it's 2 years ago, and that's the proper accounting of treatment.
I'm not an accountant. If you
Well,
tell me what
I'm-
the retained earnings is,
Well,
you ran it through what?
They ran it through another spot on the balance sheet rather than through the income statement. Okay? I'm sure Ms. Wadley would be much better at explaining that than I am.
Mr. Gladney.
I want to thank Dr. Lansford and Mr. Scavato for the presentation. You mentioned during the report about the dementia unit being near capacity, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. And the census, target census being 208, but the capacity of the home being 243. Is it at all possible to, because you also mentioned about at some point maybe expanding or creating a new dementia unit, is it possible to reconfigure things and use the available space and beds we have now to?
We've thought about it. We've talked about it. And it requires cash, and we don't have that kind of cash right now. And that doesn't hurt to plan, because I think we'll be in a position to do it someday. I think it's something that this community could use.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mosier.
I want to go outside money a little bit. The pastor in my church had a 90-year-old father that he talked about every Sunday. I've got to go see my dad, and all he wants to do is die. He moved him to Champaign County Nursing Home from another nursing home. He said he's a new person. He wants to live. Life's worth living again. He said that is an outstanding facility there, and he said, I've got lots of ancient people in this church. And he said, I go to a lot of nursing homes, and he says there's nothing in this town that will compare to that place you've got out there. And he said, I'll recommend it to anybody.
Well, thank you very much, and my only hope is that you're going to get this on the evening news. And that's a great comment. Thanks very much.
Mr. Richards.
Mr. Scavato, Mr. Lansford, I want to congratulate you on the progress you've made. As you probably remember, I was pretty skeptical of this, but I'm very pleased to see this tonight. My question is on the budget projections, Mr. Scavato. Is the Medicaid match written in with the current level or the projections?
Current. If there's any restructuring of it, well, we do know from today's meeting that the current level will be the floor. Nothing is going to go below the floor. So that's good. So anything we get is northbound, which is also good. And you can use that because your Medicaid rate is low.
Mr. James?
Can I ask about the depreciation, and that's a new line item that's been added?
It's always been added by the independent auditor at the end of the year.
Okay, and does that consist of the equipment in the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with that same question then, and I heard you say about a contingency fund, but to offset that, we should probably be also having a capital improvement fund as time
Eventually,
goes on.
yes. That's the only way to do it, but we've got to get out from under your payables burden.
But I mean, that's out there.
Oh, yeah, that's out there. And the reason we're doing the accrual accounting this way, we're making a big deal out of it, maybe too much of a big deal. It's good financial reporting. It lets you know the obligations that are out there. And I think it's the best way to run a business. Depreciation will be reported monthly, like it should be on any other business. You can't ignore that. And
Let's go with Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thanks and thank you for the reporting. And also, too, I want to say thanks for going to accrual accounting, because that's the way we know exactly where we're at this point in time. So I appreciate you doing that. Even though it's some scary figures yet, I believe you're correct, sir. We are seeing some light in the tunnel. Thank you.
Mr. Nudo.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The depreciation, I want to follow up on Mr. James' point there. The depreciation is a governmental allowance of acknowledging that buildings deteriorate as do equipment. And that rainy day fund that Mr. James is talking about is something that we need to slot in at some point in time so that we don't come to this board with, it's a new building, and sometimes depreciated items kind of fall by the wayside. We don't think about them until about 10 years, and then all of a sudden we have an avalanche of things that need repair. Buildings just flat out deteriorate. So it's something I'm sure you're looking at down the road once we get balanced out with our cash flow.
correct. And the idea would be to use any cash flow associated with depreciation to set money aside for your rainy day and for debt service.
Further questions? See none? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items you wish to take off the consent agenda? Mr. Gladney.
I'd like to take item A3 off consent.
Item A3. Any others? I think that's it. Motion by Mr. McGinty, second by Mr. Beckett. Roll call.
Betts. Coert. Dennitz. Gladney.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier. Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki. Ammons. Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. Committee reports. Justice and Social Services. Mr. Gladney.
Yes, we still have 2 action items on consent. I did pull off one, and I move adoption of resolution number 6883, appointing the Citizens Advisory Committee on Jury Selection.
Second.
Second by Ms. Anderson. Discussion. Mr. Gladney.
I pulled this. It is important to just cast light on this. I think it's a outstanding. It's a committee with outstanding potential. I think it was Mr. Fields in public participation earlier that mentioned that it's full of a great cast of committed community members who I think will make it a very effective committee. And I look forward to working with them on improving our jury selection process in the county.
Further discussion. Mr. Schrader.
I want to thank the chairman of the Justice Committee for pulling this off. I just want to make a statement here, and that's I have no problem with this Citizen Advisory Committee. In fact, I'm all for it. But the thing is, I looked over at Mr. Knott and asked him if he knew anything about it or had any input, and he said no. So I'll vote for it, but I'd like to see a little broader input into this.
Mr. Beckett.
I'm sorry to hear that because I know it's been well publicized. We've announced it at these meetings at least twice. We have discussed this issue several times over several years. The League of Women Voters and the College of Law, Professor Gonzalez and I, for the last 4 years, we're on our 5th report, have been trying to track the question of representative juries for Champaign County. And this, I think, is an outgrowth of all of those discussions. You have representatives of the community, and frankly, the underrepresentation in the community are minority jurors. And so I would expect that the people on this committee with a big stake in the outcome would be those looking after minority interest. And I see names on this of highly respected, active people in the community who I think will do just exactly what we want, which is to make our juries representative of Champaign County. But I also see that Joan Miller is there from League of Women Voters. She's the longest standing court watcher that we have, still goes to court every day, knows what she's doing, knows everybody. I think it's an excellent selection. I commend the Justice Committee for doing this, and I appreciate, Matt, you bring it off the agenda so that the people out there, the public, will know. I think if people are engaged in jury service and they have observations that they wish to make, they now will have names of people out there in the community that they can talk to. There will be regularly scheduled meetings of this group as well. I can't think of a better way to increase public awareness about our jury system and the responsibility that we have as citizens to participate in it. Thank you.
Mr. James.
I'd like to say I concur with a lot of Steve's comments, but as I brought up in committee, I think sometimes the outreach that we do, because this is Champaign County and we have several smaller communities, Penfield, Rantoul, Ludlow, sometimes we need to do a little bit more outreach because those folks, they're part of this county, but they're underrepresented in a lot of ways also. And some of that's probably the fault of us that represent those areas. But the chairperson has guaranteed me he's going to try to do a little bit more outreach by getting his name in the paper and putting some articles there. So with that said, that's where I think that comes from. It's great that Urbana and Champaign has this wealth of talent, but there's also a wealth of talent out there that just isn't aware that these positions are open.
Ms. Anderson.
I echo a number of things that Steve said too, but I know we've had a number of discussions over the years at Justice and with raising a lot of the questions, and I know that Mr. Weibel, you emailed us, the full board, several times reminding that this jury selection committee was going to be formed and seeking our input, so I think we all had the opportunity to do that. And I know that a lot of organizations were informed about this, and I wish we could get more representation. I know at the Mental Health Board and on the Public Health Board, I have called people out in those areas, and you wish they would come forward, but sometimes the time isn't right, but we need to keep trying.
Mr. Gladney.
I want to thank Mr. Beckett for his comments, and I know that Mr. James, as not only a member of the county board, but of the Justice and Social Services Committee, I know he worked really hard on getting the word out to those places he mentioned about this committee. And I just do want to guarantee him that this committee will work on outreach to all sectors, to all people. So.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gladney. County Facilities, Mr. Beckett.
From County Facilities, I recommend and move adoption of Highway Fleet Maintenance Project Resolution Number 6879, requesting additional professional services compensation.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sapp. Discussion. Ms. Amons. Or Mr. Beckett?
I just wanted to explain, first of all, that I said it that way because this came from Facilities without recommendation. The initial vote in Facilities was to not approve it. And if I might have time to just explain. I know we have representatives from BLDD and GHR here tonight. I'll say it my way. My position is that these are extra items that were needed to complete the highway maintenance facility. They're covered by the contract. The amounts of money paid, it's a little under $17,000. Most of the amounts of money are actually items where BLDD had to secure the work of others to do things that we asked them to do. There is some additional observation time that is part of it as well, but that also was contractually provided. I see no principled basis myself on how we can not pay this bill. It's money that we owe. I asked Mr. Blue if he would be here tonight. Is he here? Maybe he would come up. Since I had you here, Jeff, I might as well make you talk. And I have two questions for you. One is, do these represent items for work that we requested or in fact was done on the project? And the second was, do you have the money? Is it within the budget to do this?
I'll take them in the order that you asked them. All the items that represent the total in the resolution, the $16,000 some odd dollars, are items that were needed in order to get the building to its current state that it is now. There were a number of items, and I can go through them quickly. There was some heat pump relocations that had to be done. The geothermal field had to be laid out in a different manner to accommodate some spacing of the wells. There were some waterproofing issues with the foundation. We revised the room layout of the crew room, which is the room where my maintenance guys have their breaks and their lunches. There was a roof walk that was added to the roof in order to get up to the air handlers, and also in order to get up there for the snow catches that we have on there. There was some equipment in the wash bay because of the fact that the way the sensor on the wash bay was set up, it didn't really work very well with our trucks and the big plows, so we had to put some of those infrared eyes in there in order to make that work properly. There were some interior finishes that needed to be changed. So all of these things were items that needed to be done in order to have the building function properly. The second question is, do we have the money? Back in July of 2005, the county board passed a resolution authorizing and appropriating $675,299 from the county's motor fuel tax fund for the architectural and engineering cost of the facility. With the deduction of the reimbursable cost that BLDD did not ask for, and the addition of these costs that we asked them to do, the total bill from BLDD to the county is still less than the $675,299, roughly $3,000 less than what you appropriated in the beginning back in July of 2005. So we have not gone over the budget. We have not gone over the appropriation or the resolution in order to be able to pay these costs. And personally, I think the resolution and the wording in the resolution where it says that this is an additional sum, all this is doing is basically securing the money to make the final pay estimate to the architectural engineering firm. This is what the committee that Mr. Beckett chaired agreed with BLDD is the final payment. There will be no other payments beyond this, and we will still be under budget as far as architectural engineering services on the project.
Questions from Mr. Blue?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Roll call.
Mr. O'Connor.
I appreciate Jeff bringing this to us this way. I don't think he'd have even had to. I think he could have paid it under the contract if we were still 3,000 under.
Okay, further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote.
Betts. Yes. Cowart. Yes. Dinitz. No. Gladney. Hunt.
Yes.
James.
No.
Jay.
No.
Jones. No. Knott.
No.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki. Ammons. Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. And we can declare that building completed now, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beckett. Moving on to policy, personnel, and appointments. Mr. Betts.
We have one item for board action this evening. I move the adoption of Resolution 6884, appointing Edward Vaughn Jr. to the Champaign Southwest Mass Transit District Board for a term ending December 31st, 2013. So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Knott. Discussion. Mr. Beckett.
At the meeting when Mr. Vaughn was first proposed, I expressed my concern about this board and about the fact that it was not examining the transportation needs of its constituents. From Mr. Kepley's able presentation tonight, I see the catch-22 those constituents are in. It isn't as if there aren't constituents there that have transportation needs, but we have our transportation entities at loggerheads with each other. Frankly, I was pleasantly surprised when I received an email from Mr. Vaughn announcing the schedule of meetings for this upcoming year, because I felt that the committee would meet, or the trustees board would meet, and that they would listen to their constituents who would have transportation needs. They could address those transportation needs not by having to buy equipment, but by making other arrangements for those people who do have needs. There are people that live there that have to go to dialysis or can't afford cabs to go to church and the like. And I'm obviously concerned that those constituents are in this legal catch-22. Nonetheless, no one else has stepped forward. I do believe we have a duty to appoint members to this board. I'm going to sort of swallow hard and vote yes.
Mr. Langenheim.
Mr. Vaughn's credentials are quite impressive, and I would have no qualms at all about voting for him were he running to be on the board of the Metropolitan MTD. The Southwest Transit District is not needed. We do not need another taxing unit. We do not need another transit district. One transit district is enough for the county. The Southwest Transit District, when it was organized, many of the supporters of it made no bones about the fact that they were organizing it to prevent mass transit from coming into that area. Therefore, I am doing a foolish thing and voting against this man, but it's a matter of making a statement.
Mr. McGinty?
On almost every issue, I come to meetings ready to vote and confident in how I'm going to vote. I listen to things. With this issue, even since our caucus, where I said definitively that I was not going to vote for it for the reasons that Mr. Langenheim mentioned, I'm not convinced that the CSW MTD has any intention of providing MT. So it's a situation, though, where I think with further reflection coming in tonight, I decided let's let the courts work it out. They can continue to meet. I don't think that they ever intend to serve. And Mr. Vaughn, I appreciate you coming to the committee meeting very much, but I don't think that they ever intend to really provide mass transit services per se to that area. With that, I'm going to vote for it because of the fact that this entity exists, and it is our job to make appointments and let the courts work out whether they continue to exist or not.
Mr. Betts?
I respect where you're coming from, Mr. Beckett and Mr. McGinty, and I hope you respect where I'm coming from. It isn't Mr. Vaughn per se. I won't vote for anyone from here on out for this board because I don't believe it is an entity that is committed to the purpose of providing mass transit. It was, in fact, created to avoid, as Mr. Langenheim says, mass transit. I reject the philosophy that we can be living in the city of Champaign and Urbana and we can treat things like mass transit like we would a vending machine, and we will leave for purposes of mass transit. We're not going to be part of the community. We're going to set up our own entities. I reject that philosophy. I think it's counterproductive. It's anti-community. I will not support this entity. I think it's, quite frankly, its purpose is ill-intended. I have no doubt that Mr. Vaughn is a decent human being, and I have no doubt that he'll be appointed tonight. But I'm not going to support this entity, whether it's in litigation or not. And I would ask for a roll call.
Further discussion. Ms. Amons?
This question, Mr. Vaughn's appointment was voted down by this board last month.
Correct.
And it stated that the only applicant. I questioned the length of time that was extended for other applicants to apply for this appointment. And as Mr. James pointed out regarding the Justice Committee, that more outreach needs to be done when these appointments become available, because not until I came to the policy meeting did I realize personally that Mr. Vaughn would be put on our agenda again, even though he was voted down the previous month. So if I, who try to get information out to my constituents and to other people, don't know that this is still open and would be again available for people to apply to, then that draws the same criticism that Mr. James expressed for the previous advisory committee.
Well, he reapplied, and there are no rules saying you cannot reapply, and also the application period was a standard application period, approximately 1 month. Everybody gets treated that. If sometimes it's longer for other, like the case of the jury, Citizens Jury Selection Committee. I would say also that you don't have any constituents that reside in the Southwest District.
Co-workers that reside there.
Okay, but I mean it was standard period, and so it's sort of equal time for everybody. And also, of course, this county board, it's not just up to me, this county board is all responsible for getting the word out. Further discussion. Mr. Kurtz.
Tonight I learned a little bit more about this situation than I had known before concerning the attorney for this MTD. This is in litigation, and he feels by May this is going to be resolved. If by May this MTD might be dissolved by the court, is there any reason to vote for Mr. Vaughn tonight, and maybe can we postpone this until after the court decision?
I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, if it's going to be dissolved, it's going to be dissolved, whether he's on it or not.
Can we table this motion? And
you can make that motion.
I'd like to make a motion to table this and let's see what happens with the court decision.
So you're saying table it until the courts decide?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Point of order. There's no such thing as a motion to table till the, a
Well,
motion to table takes it off the table.
Yeah, motion to defer is...
The motion to defer would be correct.
Would you rather have a motion to defer?
To defer, then, sir.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ms. Amons. Discussion. Ms. Wysocki.
Then what would, if this is tabled, then what does this do to Mr. Vaughn? Is he...
He will not be on the...
He stays.
Until appointed, he stays.
Yep.
Until a new person is appointed,
Oh.
he stays, yes.
All right. So then he's on. I think I wasn't aware of that.
I'm sorry, could somebody explain that?
Mr. Betts, you want to do that?
My understanding on most of these appointments, whether it's MTD or what have you, until such time as we fill them, they carry over. And that has been the practice, because there's been times when MTD itself we have not filled because we've gotten into these. This is not an unusual battle. And I can recall times, and it's been, I think it's been 4 or 5 months. They've carried over, and we've done that with other districts as well.
Mr. Nudo.
I would also mention that Mr. Kepley's statement is that whichever side wins will probably have an appeal from the other side. So it's not necessarily a May decision that we're looking at. So my intention is to get this thing up or down and let the courts decide. Let's be, what did one some person say? Let's man up here.
Mr. Smucker.
I'll support the motion to defer on this basis that there is this case coming up. It would be interesting to see what happens there, and I think it would give the board, the Southwest Board, a chance to perhaps talk about providing transportation or undertaking some sort of study on the needs for transportation, or doing something which fulfills the charter under which they were formed. If I understand the lawyer is suggesting that's not a good idea, my feeling is, it seems like if you want to make a case that you're a transit district, then you should do the things a transit district does.
Mr. Beckett?
Well, I think that Mr. Kepley's right, that there'll be an appeal. That'll take some time. About a year from now, we'll have another board opening there. We'll have another nominee come. And then, according to this philosophy, we'll defer that. And then pretty soon we'll lose track of the deferrals. And instead of doing our duty, which is to vote somebody up or down, we'll be the board of deferrals.
Mr. Knott.
I think Mr. Beckett he hit it right on the head. Our job is not, I know this is amazing to many people on here, but our job is not to micromanage these boards. Our job is to appoint the members and let them carry out their duties accordingly. I mean, if we start this precedent, quite frankly, we might come to the table and start tabling everything every month because we might not like something they do. That's not our job. Our job is to appoint people to then carry out those duties. At this time, that board is carrying out their duties that they feel is in the best interest of their residents. If the court dissolves it, then so be it. But I think we have an obligation to fill the seat.
Mr. Schrader?
We'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Schmucker?
Yeah, I think this is a unique case, and as many people have made, have stated fairly clearly, this board is not actually carrying out the duties that it's chartered to do. So I think this is a unique case. I don't think the deferral is a great solution to this either, but I think I want to make take some sort of stand here on what they're doing down there.
Mr. Kurtz.
I'd just like to say, I think we manned up last month when we voted this down, and we stood up for it, and now we have to vote on it again. I'm just wondering if learning about more information and getting a little bit better feel for some situations wouldn't help in the future. But I think we still have a motion to defer on the floor, don't we?
Yes. Mr. James?
Well, I just keep hearing everybody stating that, they don't think they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I know I haven't been to any of their meetings, so I can't make that comment. But I'm sure that if they're noticed, just like here, if people want to come and tell us what they feel, they can. But for us to prejudge a group that's out there, how do we know what they're doing? How do we really know other than hearsay? So I think that's sort of unfair to the people that are serving on that board, and I think we ought to be a little careful with that.
Mr. Mosier?
Call a question on a motion to defer.
Okay, we need a vote of show of hands on 25. I'm calling the question. Let me figure out the math here first. It's 8 and 8, 17 we need. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh.
Yep. Motion carries. So the vote is on the motion to defer. Everybody understand that? The yes means it's deferred until, well,
In May.
no, in May. I think the motion was to defer to that there's an announcement of that trial. If it's, so I think at that time, that's when it ends. So it's May, unless they move the trial. Let's have a roll call.
Is the motion deferred till May or until there's a decision in the court case?
There's no such motion. There's no such motion to a date uncertain.
Yeah.
Point of order, it must be a date certain. It's either May or it's not.
I think it's got to be May.
Otherwise, it's a motion to
Right.
table.
Right.
What year?
Right.
2009.
May. This year, Ralph.
Good job, Ralph.
Roll call, please.
Betts.
Yes.
Cowart. Dennett. Gladney.
Yes.
Cunt. James.
No.
Jay.
No.
Jones.
No.
Knott. Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
No.
Mosier.
No.
Nudo.
No.
O'Connor.
No.
Richards.
Yeah.
Rosales.
No.
Sapp.
No.
Schrader.
No.
Smucker. Wysocki.
Oh,
Ammons.
No.
Anderson. Beckett.
No.
Weibel.
No. Motion does not make it. Go back to the main motion. Discussion.
Roll call on the main motion.
We want a
too.
roll call on this one, too.
And further discussion. All right, roll call on the main motion.
Betts.
No.
Cowart. Dennett.
Yes.
Gladney.
No.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
No.
McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Richards.
No.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp. Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
No.
Wysocki. Ammons.
no.
Anderson. Beckett.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
Nothing further from policy.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Finance, Mr. McGinty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6886, Payment of Claims Authorization, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6887, Purchases Not Following Purchasing Policy, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3, Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6888, establishing a hiring freeze for Champaign County departments and offices funded through the General Corporate Fund, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Knott. Discussion. I have one question. Ms. Busey, what departments does this cover?
All departments in the general corporate fund. Okay. County Board, Administrative Services, Board of Review, County Auditor, County Clerk, Supervisor of Assessments, Recorder, Treasurer, Circuit Clerk, Circuit Court, Public Defender, State's Attorney, Sheriff, Coroner, EMA, Court Services, JDC, Public Properties, and Planning and Zoning.
All right, thank you. Further, Mr. Betts.
Would this hiring freeze cover creation of new? Does it cover creation of new positions?
New positions can only be created if the Finance Committee recommends to the county board that they be created.
If we have unfilled and never been filled new positions that have been adopted by the board.
The budget amendment you're about to approve eliminates the funding for any current full-time vacant positions.
Walker?
So would this, essentially, if anybody leaves county employment, this would not allow us to refill their position?
What this does is directs the department head or elected official to hold any position vacant for at least 3 months, unless they come to the Finance Committee first to request that they be given the approval to fill it sooner than 3 months. And after 3 months, if a department feels that they need to fill the position, allows them to come to the Finance Committee and request approval to fill it at that time. They would have to substantiate their reasons and the basis for the need to fill the position.
Mr. Betts.
Mr. Chairman, just I suppose an awkward question, but the board voted last term that we were going to move toward a single administrator in the county. We created a description and what have you for that. In fact, we're going to probably reaffirm that position next month at full board. How does this hiring freeze affect that? That is an unfilled position at this point.
Are you asking me?
Well, I'm asking someone because I think it's an important question.
Are you creating a new position and eliminating another position?
We haven't. I think what the board voted is to go to a single administrator. And
logistics to be determined.
Exactly, and
I think one way to handle it is just make a motion to exempt that. To amend the motion to exempt that particular area.
Well, I'm asking for direction on this because what I don't want to do is find ourselves having to step by step undo things.
I think that if you have a motion to amend it so that you could allow a change in administrators.
Does council concur?
I've learned in my brief stint as a parliamentarian that I shouldn't think I know what the question is. I should make sure I understand what the question is. Is your question, does this resolution as it's written prohibit filling a position? I apologize. I'm not aware of any decisions that this board has made regarding the single administrator position. I know it's been discussed, but I'm not aware of any decisions made on that. So if there's a resolution that has created a new position in the past, it would be subject to this. If you're creating a resolution in the future, that resolution could reflect any inconsistencies, if we determine there are any, with this one. Does that?
I think for safety's sake, what I'm going to do is move to amend the resolution to exclude the creation of a single county administrator.
Second.
Motion. Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Mr. Kirk. Oh, we have a second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Ms. Court.
Tom, could you explain that a little bit more?
Well, if we have a hiring freeze, which includes positions that we already have or unfilled positions, and we voted last term to move toward a single administrator system, we have a job description, etc. We're going to reaffirm that position, that resolution that we passed last term this March. If we want to then fill that position of a single administrator, it will be subject to this freeze if we have not excluded it from the freeze. And so what rather than when we move in that direction and do that hiring, I do not want to have to repeal this hiring freeze or making an exemption at that time before we can create the position. I'm doing it in advance, recognizing that the board has in fact created and made its intentions known to go in that direction by a unanimous vote of the board.
Mr. Cards, go ahead.
Okay, in one case,
Well, the second position, the other administrators' positions are not new, so they are not subject, they're subject to the freeze, but we're not creating a new position. We have a number of people who are in administrative roles in the county, but there's only one that I know of in which we are creating a new position.
so the second amendment.
We're contractually bound on numerous administrators.
So that wasn't what you were talking.
Yeah, I think it is.
Mr. McGinty?
Mr. Betts covered it.
Mr. James?
This is like everything else. I mean, the economy's changed a lot. The county's having some pitfalls, and we're asking a lot of people to relook at their budgets and rediscuss things. And I know this was talked about, but it was talked about when things were a lot different with this whole county. I don't know if I could support that at this time if it's up for a vote, for the pure and simple reason that, you know, we're making everybody else sort of hold the line, and then yet we're going to turn around and say, well, we're going to redo this, which of course is going to increase salaries possibly and other positions. So right now, I think we're rushing into this. If we're asking the whole county to take a freeze, I think it should be county-wide, not just the employees out in the field.
Mr. McGinty?
I hear what Mr. James is saying. Just as a bit of background, very briefly, so last year, the previous board agreed through resolution to go to a single administrator for many reasons that we had discussed before. Since that time, the administrative structure special committee consisting of Mr. Betts, Mr. Mosier, and myself have discussed many, many different things. And to think ahead to when the current dual administrator contracts expire at the end of this fiscal year, we were walking backwards to a point where we would need to start this process of identifying not only if we're going to reaffirm, and this was Mr. Betts' idea, I think it's a good one, reaffirm with this current board that we're going to go to a single administrator, then the next step being, what's the mechanism for doing that? Mr. James, I'm not sure that we have, specifics on fiscal impact for this at this point. I think that Mr. Betts' amendment is an intelligent one to give us the flexibility. I don't think that we're looking to spend when others are not. But I think that we do need to move forward with the planning that we'd set forth to create the efficiency of a single administrator, something that the previous board agreed to, I believe, unanimously. So I would recommend moving forward with Mr. Betts' amendment because it's still, with the purpose at hand, establishes the hiring freeze as it's really intended.
Mr. Beckett?
Now, initially I thought that this made sense because it gave us flexibility, but my recollection from discussions at the time was that the single administrator idea required a restructuring of administrative services. And now, according to this freeze, we would not be able to do a restructuring of administrative services. We would have to undo this freeze to be able to do a restructuring of administrative services. So it seems to me that it makes more sense not to accept Mr. Betts' amendment, leave the freeze the way it is, have you guys do your work, and come in and have whatever the new structure is exempted from this freeze by a separate motion, so that we're acting at one time with everybody knowing what we're doing. Because right now we got this little piece that you've hung out there that you say gives flexibility, but it doesn't really fit the big plan that was presented to us last year. So I've changed my mind and I'm opposed to the amendment.
Further discussion? Mr. Betts?
I can even understand where Mr. Beckett's coming from. What I don't want to do is 6 months from now, when we have restructured it, suddenly have the board say, oh, we're subject to a freeze and we're not going to go along with that. I don't want to do all that work and have the board turn around and say, well, it's freeze, we're not going to restructure. That is my concern.
Mr. McGinty?
I'm just going to ask Mr. DeThorne for his opinion on those two differing thoughts.
I apologize to the board. Has this position been created or not?
It's in the process of. So it's not created yet.
Well, as a practical matter, if you look at your Resolution 6888, which is before the board this evening unamended, the paragraph numbered 1 suggests that a position that's funded by the corporate fund, which is now or hereafter becomes vacant, which I suppose when you create this would fit in that category, as to remain vacant for a period of at least 3 months unless the Champaign County Board Finance Committee gives its permission to fill it. So you actually do have a mechanism to fill it as soon as that committee meets. That was one answer. Does that answer both questions?
Deb, comment?
Well, I would just also like to point out that with this hiring freeze, the idea behind this resolution was to encourage departments to, at the very least, hold any position which becomes vacant for at least 3 months, just to achieve some savings in the personnel budget. And whenever an employee leaves, we usually have some obligation to pay them for benefits that they have accrued, and certainly that would be covered if you don't replace that position, for at least 3 months. That was the initial impetus behind the first part of this hiring freeze. The second part of it is that if that department truly needs the position, that they would come to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee will make decisions about which positions are essential and need to be filled. And I would submit to you that with already 8 positions in county government for which funding has been cut in the general corporate fund budget, that at least for those departments, when they come to you and ask to fill additional positions which become vacant in their offices, the Finance Committee is probably going to need to say yes. One of those departments only has 5 employees. A couple of them only have, 5 or 6 employees. They won't be able to keep functioning if someone else leaves unless they're able to fill the position. So this resolution does leave discretion with the Finance Committee about which positions should be filled based on having substantiation presented to them from the individual department about the need for the positions.
One quick question, Mr. DeThorne. If we were to create that position tomorrow, that means a single administrator, that means 3 months from now plus 1 day we could fill it under this.
Still have to go to the Finance Committee.
Yeah, go through
Either
finance,
way.
right, but.
You could fill it next week through the Finance Committee.
Okay.
Being able to go to the Finance Committee is, if a department has someone leave and they say, I can't manage for 3 months without filling this position, they're going to come to the Finance Committee and ask the committee to give them authority to fill it.
Mr. Mosier.
Mr. Beckett mentioned restructuring administrative service. Is it possible that we could get a vote on whether we're going to proceed with a single administrator and then at least give your committee the opportunity to start looking at that, to, if that's what you want, how that restructuring is going to be done?
What's not on the agenda? Mr. Betts.
I guess what I'm going to do, since we've had the educational session, I suppose, tonight on the issue, so that when this does come up, because it's going to come up and it's going to be controversial, I want everyone to remember tonight what we talked about, that we are moving toward a single administrator system, that this can go before the appropriate committees as an exemption, that to this it can be voted on. I just don't want to have people say, we cannot do that because of this freeze. That is the goal here, is I don't want that to be the basis on which we stop restructuring, which could potentially save a great deal of money. That being said, I'm going to withdraw my amendment, and we can vote on the, if the seconder will join me, and we can vote on the original motion.
Who seconded that? Mr. Mosier, okay. Is there any objection to the withdrawal? since it actually belongs to the body. If there's no rejection or no objection, we'll do that. Seeing none, it's withdrawn. Mr. Smucker.
I'm going to speak then to the original motion. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I actually have some concern about a hiring freeze. First of all, I want to say that, and many people have mentioned it tonight, that it's really impressive the way the department heads have stepped up and the way different county employees have come forward and offered ideas and ways to save money, and the way the department heads really went through their own budgets and found an enormous amount of money that they could give up. But my concern is that we're obviously in a difficult economic time, and my feeling is that the county government has a certain responsibility to essentially not make things worse in the county at large. I recognize that the sales tax revenues, the fees are coming in under what we expect them to, but the projections that we're dealing with are enormous, the 1.2 million, but these are just projections, and we have the ability to amend our budget further down the road. And so I guess I'm just not. I'm worried that we're going in the wrong direction. That every position we don't fill is another house not bought in this county. Every position we don't fill is another family without employment in this county. And not that we are the jobs program for the county, but we are, we're a big employer, and I think we have a certain responsibility to not totally panic in this situation, that we need to show some leadership and really only make the cuts that we can see are directly necessary. So that's my feeling about it, that I'm worried that the hiring freeze is sort of indiscriminate, and it's too much, and it's sending the wrong message.
Mr. Mosier.
Well, if you've been in Florida the last 6 weeks like I have, in Hillsborough County, Florida, they're furloughing people right now. This thing has not hit this town like it's hit other cities that don't have an engine like the University of Illinois to carry the weight. You look at the price of houses, and the decline here is minuscule compared to what it is in other places. I mean, we're seeing values down there 50% lower than they were 2 or 3 years ago. And there are businesses shutting down, and I want to do anything or everything we can here to keep this thing from turning into something worse than it is, which is laying more people off. We're going to have to do with less. The property taxes are not going to continue to go up like they have in past years. When you see a decline in residential property like we're seeing in other parts of I talked to Steve Bantz earlier this week, and he said it's an indication to him that maybe the housing market in this county's dropped 8%. That's not 50%. And the chickens are going to come home to roost later on, because this thing is going to be in a lag. And if you don't do something right now to try to stem the tide, I just think it's going to get worse, and you're going to make decisions that are a lot more ugly than the hiring freeze.
Mr. McGinty.
I think the indicator to me is the number of people who I think get the difficult situation that's in front of us. Everyone from the time that Finance met last 2 weeks ago and since that time have been working very cooperatively, because they recognize the challenge. And they recognize that if we don't stay on top of this and make some adjustments now, that the pain could be very, very severe later. 2010 is going to be very challenging.
Mr. Nudo.
Every department head has worked with our administrator of finance who has years and years of experience with projecting. We look at, what's happening, the trends, all of this. I think it's very important to trust the people who are doing this and dealing with this every day, the treasurer, the administrator of finance. These people know a lot. I trust them. The department heads, the unions, we've been very transparent about this. People understand the severity. And so let's move on here. Let's get this going.
Mr. Nudo?
Mr. McGinney said my thoughts.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I want to commend Chairman McGinney and the administrators and the department heads and the employees. They're all outstanding, and obviously they've made a lot of sacrifices. So I think there's a lot to be said for everybody here. Just, I know Mr. Mosier has 3 citizenships in this nation, Minnesota, Illinois, and Florida. But just to relate a story here in this state where I was at a meeting Monday morning with the Department of Agriculture head, Tom Jennings, where he's pretty much been a career employee of the Department of Agriculture and has moved up, and he's doing an excellent job. But he related to the meeting I was at where he's gone from a staff of 600 some 3 or 4 years ago down to 400. And they're doing the same, trying to do the same job, serve the same amount of people, if not more. And his response was there's going to be some really bad cuts coming to programs, and there's really going to be some pain coming. So I think, once again, I commend everybody involved here in the county for at least keeping our heads above water. We've not had to fire anybody, thank goodness, and fortunately we're not like the state.
Mr. Langenheim.
I'd like to ask the administrator, what's the procedure now if a vacancy occurs? What authorization must the department head get to make a replacement?
Right now?
Yeah.
None.
In other words, they just go out and hire somebody and
Right.
tell us about it afterwards.
Well, you've already appropriated to them a budget, which enables them
budget.
to do that. Yeah, they have a personnel budget to maintain a full-time staffing within their staffing allowance for the year.
Would it be possible to require some form of authorization for replacement which would allow us to selectively freeze appointments? A wholesale freeze sounds dramatic, and it's great for politics and all that, but it's as arbitrary as the dickens, and we're arguing around here how we're going to get around that in cases of necessity. Why don't we just build that getting around it in cases of necessity into the thing as we're doing it?
Effectively what it says. It gives the Finance Committee the authority when a department head comes to them and says, I can't live without being able to replace this position either immediately after the person leaves or after I've held it vacant for 3 months. The Finance Committee has the authority to tell that department head, okay, you may go ahead and fill the position. Correct.
Well, calling for a freeze is sort of grandstanding in a way. Right?
It's an encouragement to the department heads and officials to, as much as possible, hold those positions vacant for as long as possible to generate as much savings as possible, because we still have a deficit budget for '09 and we can't afford a deficit. So that is the intent.
Let's go with Mr. J. I might say after every freeze, there's always a thaw. Mr. J.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think by not passing this, we're sending the wrong message. We need to let people know that we're serious about the problems we're in. This freeze doesn't take away everybody's rights, as you're implying. They have a method to get their employee back if they need him. They're going to have to make the case that they got to have him, and they really need him, before the Finance Committee. So we're not doing anything but saying we're really serious, we've got to do something, and we as a board ought to act responsible once in our life.
Mr. Kurtz.
I want to agree with Mr. Mosier's passionate statement. I believe he's on the right track. I have confidence, and we have confidence in the Finance Committee to work with the administrators on any or department heads on any urgent matters that come up during this next 3 months. And I certainly feel we need to make this a statement to the county as well.
Further discussion? Roll call? Let's go roll call.
Betts. Cowart. Dennett. Gladney.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim. McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier. Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
No.
Wysocki.
Yes,
Ammons.
she's gone.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
Item number 4, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6897, amending the fiscal year 2009 General Corporate Fund budget, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Mr. McGinty.
The details are on the sheet that was in at your desk, and you can see line by line the volume of work from all the departments.
Discussion. Mr. Smucker.
I want to ask about well, I guess I want to ask about the projected decreases. Can you explain some of the fee decreases? I mean, which are startlingly enormous. Are these also a result of the economic downturn, or why are we seeing what looks to be $30,000 a month in stamp recorder revenue stamps? And
That is a result of the change in the revenue in real estate transactions going on in the county. That's a direct result of that, and that mirrors what happened last year. All we're doing there is budgeting flat compared to 2008 for 2009 in terms of those revenue stamps, which are a result of real estate transactions, which may even be slightly optimistic, but it matches. So we're when we prepared the budget, that was estimated by the recorder to be the same as what she had budgeted for 2008, but at the end of 2008, that revenue line actually was substantially less than what was budgeted. So we're matching what happened in 2008 with the 2009 budget.
And you think we can expect that that'll actually be lower, given a slowed down?
Well, it isn't at this point, but again, that's the best projection at this point in time.
And the circuit clerk fees?
The fees and fines revenue for the criminal justice system dropped 11.5% in 2008. And the criminal justice system switched to a new technology system in July. The first 6 months of the year was tracking similarly to how 2007 performed, but the clerk was unable to enter any of those revenues during the entire time we were preparing the budget. So the second half of fiscal year 2008 was unknown to us until January. And at that time, what we learned is that the actual on those revenues was 11.5% less than it was in 2007. That is the most significant drop in fees and fines revenues that we have seen in the last 10 years. Part of the explanation is that law enforcement agencies in this community are writing fewer traffic citations, about 7.5% fewer, and a majority of those revenues come from the fines on traffic tickets. We've talked to the state's attorney and the judges about this decline in revenues, and they're going to watch it. This cut estimates that there will still be some increase over what we actually received in '08, but certainly we could not continue projecting off of the '07 actual numbers, which is what we had to use when we prepared the '09 budget.
And then could you explain how the sales tax, which are, I guess, the income tax and the sales tax were calculated?
Yes. The sales and income taxes, we looked at the performance of this revenue stream for Champaign County over the last 25 years, and we went back further than we typically have because we felt that we had to compare the current recession that we're in with the recession that occurred in the early 80s. And looking back over that historical period, the county has gone through 3 recessionary periods in the mid-'80s, in the early '90s, and then after 9/11 in 2002. 3 of the worst years that the county experienced saw a combined loss of 4% in the combination of sales and income tax revenues. There was 1 year in the mid-'80s where the combined loss was 11%. That seemed too drastic to project at this point for 2009, so we used the 4% historical average that we've seen on 3 other occasions over that almost 30-year period. So this is a combination of a decline in these revenues that equals a total of 4%. It's a 5% decline in the quarter-cent sales tax, a 3% decline in the 1-cent tax, a 3% decline in the income tax and use tax.
Ms. Osaki.
I want to go back to the issue about declining fees. A year or 2 ago, we agreed to bring on board an individual whose job was essentially to aggressively pursue negligent fees and fines. Is that person still in our employ to do that?
Absolutely, and still absolutely generating more revenue than what it costs to have that position in existence in the county.
So the idea is that he had to justify his own salary by what he was able to collect, is my recollection is.
Yeah, and he has.
And he is doing that.
And the fact that that was a new program in 2007 may have something to do with the fact that the fees and fines revenues went up a little bit more substantially in that year. But they have always grown. Typically, they remain stable or grow. And to have an 11.5% decline in 1 year is rather substantial.
Mr. Jones.
Deb, I was curious, when I look at this list, have you been able to identify any of these reductions in expenditures? Have you been able to identify any that we could be able to replicate in next year's budget, so these aren't just one time? For example, something like a county clerk printing, lowering that to $20,000, and the supervisor's assessments legal notices. I see that was lowered. Is that something that we can lower in next year's budget and have a lower baseline to go forward?
I haven't exactly identified which of these might be recurring in terms of cuts to the budgets. I believe there is probably some here, but at this time I would also caution you that we aren't budgeting for capital at all in fiscal year '09, and we didn't spend any of our capital in '08. There's nothing for sheriff's vehicles. We won't be able to replicate that year. That's one of the biggest expenditure cuts. Other than the personnel, the positions where we've cut funding for positions, and as I said, that's a total of 8 positions with what is presented here. I would be cautious about assuming that we could continue, that we could expect to be able to continue the rest of these operational cuts throughout next year. Right now, the general fund budget in '09 is 70% personnel. We've cut substantially from non-personnel lines and not as much from personnel lines. And at some point, we're going to have to implement a correction there. One of the expenses that general corporate pays for in personnel is health insurance, and that's guaranteed to go up, probably at least 10% based on what's going on elsewhere in this community. So,
I guess I'm just saying we're balancing our budget here with these items, but we're not really cutting. That's what I'm saying. We're not, just so people are aware of that. We're balancing the budget. We're not really cutting for the future. It's not really going to help us next year. That's what I'm saying.
Some of it will, but not all of it.
Mr. Mosier.
How current are your sales tax figures? Are you 3 months back on where they really are, or is it?
The most recent month we received is November, which we just received last week. And in November, the countywide quarter cent was down 2.6%, and the countywide public safety quarter cent was down 5%, which is exactly the flip of what we saw in October.
What about the 1 cent? You told me a couple months ago it was holding up. But
the 1 cent was flat for November. Up until November, it had increased. It increased, I don't remember the exact number, but it increased more than 30% in October.
Do you have any idea what another penny for schools is going to do to this if it's added on?
Well, we don't get it.
Well, I mean to the whole picture. I mean, we're going to be at 8 cents in Champaign, Urbana.
Right, and is that going to deter people more from purchasing in this community, in this economy? I don't know.
Well, that's a tough call.
Mr. Smucker.
Again, I appreciate all the work that Deb and Brendan McGinty have put into this, and I mean it's clear that in 3 weeks they did an enormous amount of work and moved from several different options and ways to deal with it. I also, I guess I'm just going to simply say that my own disposition is that I would have liked to seen us take this a little bit slower. I have no doubt that we are headed for a long, hard recession. That's what everybody says. Nobody knows, but that's what everybody says. I think that we still could have. I guess my preference would have been to take this in smaller chunks, and to put off the layoffs, or the not layoffs, but the freezes, which are essentially leaving positions open for as long as we possibly could. That's my concern about it, and that's why that's why I'm not going to be able to support it. I understand where it's at, why we're doing it, but I'm worried we're creating, again, it's sort of this idea of the freeze, the shutdown. We're slashing everything. I think that it's a little, we're adding a little bit of fuel to the fire, and I think our job should be to try to put the brakes on the trip down as much as we can.
Mr. Knott.
I'm very grateful we went the speed we did. I mean, logic says if you're 6 or 9 months into your budget year, you've probably spent 6 or 9 months of your money, and your deficit at the end of the year would be the same. I think it'd be irresponsible to sit and wait. I can't imagine anybody would advocate that position. I mean, the deficit projection is what it is, but again, if you're 6, 9, 11 months into your year, if we were in November or in October this fall saying, we'd be completely the opposite. We'd be saying, well, why didn't the administrator come to us and not present the cuts? So time is of the essence. The beauty is we could restore things at the end of the year if the money's there. And with that, I'll call the question.
Okay, we need to vote a show of hands for 16 people now. We have 16.
Call the question.
Call the question. Call the question. This is a roll call vote, automatic.
Betts. Cowart. Dennett.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim. McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
No.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Anderson. Beckett. Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
That's all from finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Highway and Transportation, Ms. Cowart.
Interested for board action.
Thank you. Environment and Land Use, Ms. Wysocki.
We have just one item. I want to move ordinance number 846, which is the approval of zoning case 635-AM-08, which amends the zoning map by changing the zoning designation on a 42-acre tract in Section 24 of Urbana Township from Ag 1 to Ag 2. And I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schrader. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Betts. Cowart. Dennett.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
No.
McGinty.
Yes.
Mosier. Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp. Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett. Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. Other business. We have a closed session. I'm sorry? Mr. Smucker, would you proceed with the motion?
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2 to consider collective negotiating matters between Champaign County and its employees or their representatives. I further move that the following individuals remain present: Mike Scavato, Andrew Buffenbarger, county administrators, county's legal counsel, the recording secretary. And then can I ask for a roll call to move into session?
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Betts. Roll call, please.
Betts.
Yes.
Cowart. Dinitz. Gladney. Hunt. James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Not here.
That was Jay, wasn't it?
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim. McGinty. Mosier.
Not here.
O'Connor.
No.
Richards.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Sapp. Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki. Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett. Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. We're going into closed session. Yes, Mr.?
Can we take 5 minutes? Should we have done that before?
Let's take 2 minutes.